Hey guys, I'm Karlyn Borysenko with Decode the Left. This is an exclusive live stream over on my Substack. That is Karlyn, Karlyn .substack.com. I do these live streams pretty regularly for my Substack audience, so make sure you get subscribed. It is free to subscribe. And if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. I am 100% funded by you. I have no big political donors, and that's why we can have the conversation that we're going to have today. And the conversation that we're going to have today is you don't hate the Republican Party enough. You don't hate the Republican Party enough. And listen, I know that there are going to be Republicans watching this and you might get your feelings all in a twist over that. But the reality is this. The Republican Party is running cover for the real far left in America. They do not care about stopping it. All they care about is playing nicely for the media to, uphold the brand and maintain their status, and that is all they care about. In fact, I have DMs that I'm going to show them to you because I no longer care. I am in possession of DMs from Donald Trump's Assistant Attorney General, Harmeet Dhillon, in which Harmeet told me flat out that I was behaving unhinged for using capitalized letters to discuss a Texas State University faculty member openly planning to overthrow the government. And Harmeet Dhillon, Donald Trump's Assistant Attorney General, who is in charge of fixing the universities and getting all the woke stuff out of the universities, Harmeet Dhillon is more offended at capitalized letters than she is at faculty members at Texas State University openly calling to overthrow the government. This is the problem. Yesterday I released a story, and I'm gonna flip my phone around and show it to you because it's what I can do on a live stream. And I hope you saw it. If you didn't, we'll do a quick preview. I spent the weekend undercover at a Revolutionary Socialism conference. There's going to be a ton of clips coming out from this. This is by far not the only story I have. It's just one of the most important ones. And the very first clip I released from that conference is Texas State Socialist prof calling for the overthrow of the U.S. government. This is a Texas State University professor. And let me just play you the first part of this clip from this conference. Hang on.
My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member of Socialist
Recording in progress.
Say it again. My name is Tom Alter. I'm a member of Socialist Horizon in San Marcos, Texas, and also a member of the Texas State Employees Union, affiliated with the CWA. As anarchists, these insurrectionists explicitly reject the formation of a revolutionary party capable of leading the working class to power. Without organization, how can anyone expect to overthrow the most bloodthirsty, profit-driven, mad organization in the history of the world, that of the U.S. government?
2 minutes, comrade. I don't know how much more overt it can be. That is a Texas State University faculty member who teaches history and also teaches a lot of education students. So he's literally teaching the future teachers at Texas State University. And he is calling for the formation of a revolutionary organization. That means a giant-ass group of socialists and communists to come together to discuss the task of overthrowing the bloodthirsty United States government. It's as clear as day. And by the way, this is not the only video I have of this conference of people calling to overthrow the government. It's not even the only video I have. I've been finding revolutionary socialists for years trying to organize in public to get these parties together to overthrow the government. Yesterday, I released that clip. Has over 60,000 views on Twitter. It should have a lot more views, but for some reason it doesn't. But 60,000 views is nothing to sneeze at. And I'll tell you what, I emailed every Republican politician that I could think of in the state of Texas, or I DM'd them on Twitter. I reached out to Ted Cruz's office. I reached out to Chip Roy's office. I reached out to the governor's office. I reached out to Ken Paxton's office. I reached out to literally everyone I could think of. I got multiple state reps from Texas following me yesterday because of this, so I know they know about it. Not one single Republican has spoken out against that Texas State University professor. Not one, let me say this again, not one single politician, Republican politician from Texas, has spoken out against the Texas State University faculty member who is openly calling to organize to overthrow the government. Not one. And I wish I could say I was surprised. But I'm not surprised. This happens literally all the time. If you guys only knew this, you guys want to know why I'm upset and I yell on the internet all the time? Because I know how many stories there are that Republicans and conservatives never pay attention to. I know what the left is doing. I go to their organizing meetings all the time. I know that there are far more of them than people think. They are far more organized than people think. And the Republicans are paying no attention to this at all. And then I serve them up evidence literally on a silver platter. And they don't care. They don't even bother to look at it. And in the case of Trump's Assistant Attorney General, Harmeet Dhillon, she told me I was unhinged. I'm going to prove that. You guys know I always come with receipts. And I no longer care. Listen, people always say to me, like, Karlyn, why don't you play nicer with these people? Why don't you play nicer with these people? I played nice with Harmeet Dhillon for years. You guys have no idea the extent of footage that I've sent Harmeet Dhillon that she has done nothing with. I have sent Harmeet Dhillon an insane amount of evidence that teachers in Vermont are basically in open rebellion against the Trump administration. She's done nothing about it. I've sent Harmeet Dhillon evidence that teachers and school boards are bragging about openly defying the executive orders of the Trump administration to not teach gender stuff in school. She does nothing about it. She doesn't even acknowledge it most of the time. She gets all of it. She reads all of it. I know that. But she doesn't acknowledge it and she does nothing with it. Well, this is the final straw for Harmeet Dhillon and me, and I'm not keeping my mouth shut anymore because I always said to people, I was like, if people don't start doing something with this evidence that I send them, I'm going to start flaming them publicly because this is the only thing they respond to. The only thing they respond to is being shamed about not doing anything on Twitter, if they even respond to that. And if they don't respond to it, that's fine, but I'm still going to openly shame them on Twitter because they should be ashamed. Harmeet Dhillon should be ashamed. And I'm going to show you why. Okay. So I was DMing with Harmeet Dhillon about this Texas State professor who is openly calling to overthrow the government. These are 2 screenshots from this conversation, and I have no problem releasing the entire conversation. I'm just releasing these 2 because it gets to the heart of the matter. Essentially, I was like, Harmeet, you have got to start releasing things that are not things that Chris Rufo sends you. And she says, it's not a competition, Karlyn. I know it's not a competition, Harmeet. You guys are the ones that treat it like a competition, and you only suck the dicks of your friends that work for the goddamn Manhattan Institute. But of course, you can shout from the rooftops if you find that effective as opposed to unhinged. Good luck. And I said, he's calling for the overthrow of the government, Harmeet. You guys are the ones who treat this like a competition. You don't take this seriously at all. I will scream this from the rooftops until you guys do your job. And if people want to call me unhinged, so be it. Because being unhinged over faculty calling to overthrow the government is better than what you are doing, which is nothing. And she said, okay, you might want to call the FBI criminal section. Now, keep in mind, Harmeet Dhillon works for the Department of Justice. Harmeet Dhillon could pick up the fucking phone and call the FBI on speed dial and they would take her call. The FBI is not taking my call. Harmeet Dhillon is the Assistant Attorney General of the United States in the Department of Justice. The FBI reports to the Department of Justice. She can make the fucking phone call. Using all caps is not more persuasive, by the way. And I told her, you work for the government. You have them all on speed dial. You make the fucking call. And then she unfollowed me on Twitter. And now she's never going to answer me again because I showed her DMs in public and I really don't care. I really don't care. This is a woman who is running around bragging about how she's fixing the universities and the DEI in the universities. And when she is presented with direct evidence of a Texas State University faculty member openly calling to form a revolutionary organization to overthrow the federal government, she says, I'm unhinged for demanding they do something about this. And she criticizes the use of capital letters when writing overthrow the government. We do not hate Republicans enough. We do not hate these people enough. And if you're a Republican and you're having feelings about me saying this, then you need to clean up your own act. You need to clean up your own party. Be mad at them. And you know what? There are all sorts of Republicans right now who are mad at me on Twitter because I'm openly saying Greg Abbott hasn't responded to this. Ken Paxton hasn't responded to this. Texas State University hasn't responded to this. Ted Cruz hasn't responded to this. Chip Roy hasn't responded to this. There are literally 0 state representatives in Texas who have responded to this. There are 0 calls from any elected Republican anywhere to get that guy out of his teaching position at Texas State University, where he is literally training the next generation of teachers. But do you know who the Republicans are mad at right now? Me for calling them out on their bullshit. And they're saying, well, I just don't know why you're so upset about this. And maybe they have other things to do. And maybe this isn't at the top of their priorities. This is a communist teaching at a taxpayer-funded institution, openly calling for revolution against the government. You guys can't write a fucking statement? Well, we haven't seen the full video. Yes, you have. It's on my Substack. I gave it to you immediately. I don't know why Republicans make excuses for their do-nothing politicians. Oh, by the way, there's another anti-Semitism hearing going on in Congress literally right now. So guys, don't worry. They're gonna fix the anti-Semitism problem on campus. They've had no less than a dozen hearings about anti-Semitism on college campuses. They haven't had one single hearing, not one single discussion about communism on college campuses. Not one. That other Jenny says, looking forward to Harmeet's post-overthrow tribunal. Will she publicly declare she never saw this coming? Well, you know what? I was thinking about this last night, and I'm absolutely convinced, guys. I'm absolutely convinced. There will reach a point where one of the people that I record at one of these conferences does something dangerous and violent. I'm 100% convinced of it. I track revolutionary socialists. I don't track Democrats. I don't track liberals. I don't track progressives. I do the DSA because I have to. But my real interest is in revolutionary socialists in America, organizing right now. I watch these people all the time. I listen to these people all the time. I record these people all the time. At some point, one of these people is going to do something dangerous. At some point, someone's going to get hurt. And the moment that happens, I'll tell you what, the absolute minute that someone that I have recorded before does something dangerous, I am releasing the names of every single conservative influencer and politician that was notified about that person ahead of time and did nothing, and then made excuses for why they could do nothing. And then they're going to say, we didn't know. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You chose to ignore it. You chose to call me unhinged on the internet for demanding you do your jobs. You chose to critique using capital letters over the content of what that college professor was saying. How these people live with themselves, I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, Reagan says Republicans love to, and I quote, kick the can down the road. Yeah, they don't do anything except what Israel tells them to do. It's insane. So, I don't know what to tell you guys. Listen, my job is to record the footage and to release the clips and to tell people what happened. I cannot force people to do anything with that information. If Republicans are bound and determined to do nothing, and to not only do nothing, but to criticize, ostracize, and gatekeep the person giving them the information. Do Republicans think that I created this clip? Did they even bother to watch it? Did Harmeet Dhillon even bother to watch it before she critiqued my grammar? My bet is no. Because I've been around these people for a long time, and I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired. Well, Karlyn, maybe they just don't know what to do. Maybe they're forming a committee to decide what to do with it. Are you serious? Are you serious? Do not expect these people to save you guys. Donald Trump's executive orders mean nothing. They aren't even being enforced in schools. The Assistant Attorney General cares more about grammar than she does about communists and higher education. Not a single Republican politician in Texas will speak up and denounce this Texas State University professor. If they were going to do it, they already would have done it. And I have absolutely no doubt that that Texas State University professor is going to keep teaching at Texas State University, and he's going to keep teaching the future teachers, and he's going to sit in that job and nothing's going to happen. And he's going to continue organizing communist events on college campuses because he has organized communist events at Texas State University before, and he probably will again. Mary says the school will form a committee. I don't even think the school will form a committee. I doubt that'll happen. I don't think anything's going to happen. Tolkien fan says conservatives too infatuated with their own superiority complex to even bother learning about. Yes, that's exactly right. Their hubris is astounding. They actually think that they know everything when in fact they actually know nothing. Yeah, Reagan says I'm tired of the we're winning talk. Yeah, I'm so tired of hearing we're winning, we're winning, we're winning. They're not winning anything and they don't even know it. Yeah, and yeah, Corey DeAngelis is going to dismantle the teachers' unions. I'll believe it when I fucking see it. And listen, I actually do like Corey DeAngelis. I actually do. But I don't. He's working with Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute. And so anything involving Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute, and by the way, the only person that Harmeet Dhillon actually listens to is Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute. That's why she's not doing anything about this Texas State University professor. I promise you, if this story had come through Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute, she would be right on it. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do whatever you want me to, Mr. Rufo. But because the story did not come from Rufo, she's not going to do shit about it. And I do not trust anything, not anything related to Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institute. Nothing. Because it's just a branding exercise. Again, and they're funded by a freaking Israeli Zionist. And that's all they care about is promoting this bullshit. Christopher Rufo and the Manhattan Institutes were basically the key people pushing the bullshit anti-Semitism narrative. Their anti-Semitism is not what's going on the left at all. And actually, I have a whole bunch of clips from the Revolutionary Socialism Conference that are going to prove that. They don't care about people being Jewish. There are plenty of Jews on the left that are perfectly fine being Jewish on the left that are not attacked for being Jewish because they're on the left. The Manhattan Institute and Christopher Rufo are the ones that lied to the public about what's going on, completely misinforming the right, so now none of them actually understand why the left is upset about Israel, why they're protesting Israel, what's going on. Has nothing to do with Jewish nothing. There was a whole presentation at the Revolutionary Socialism Conference that I got on video, and I'm going to be actually, that's probably the next thing I'm going to make clips of, honestly. They didn't even talk about them being Jewish in the entire presentation. If they were really so anti-Semitic, then they would have talked about them being Jewish in the presentation. They didn't. They talked about the land. They talked about Israel being a capitalist state. They talked about the uprising of the Palestinians against the capitalist overlords. They used this language specifically. Israel are the capitalist settler colonists. It has nothing to do with being Jewish. It has to do with being Zionist. And they hate the United States for exactly the same reason that they hate Israel. It's exactly the same thing. The United States are exactly the same type of government in the left's mind as Israel is. I'm explaining what they believe. And so all this talk about anti-Semitism was bullshit from the start. The congressional hearings going on about anti-Semitism in Congress, like literally right now, it was bullshit from the start. Do you guys see how this works? Zionists fund conservative politicians. And then those conservative politicians advance the interests of Israel over Americans. Has nothing to do with being Jewish. Has to do with the state of Israel. And you know what? The thing of it is if you're an American, I don't actually care if you're Jewish or not. I don't even care if you're a Zionist or not. But if you support Israel over America, if you put Israeli interests over American interests, then that is a problem, and you should probably go move to Israel and live there and mess around in their politics, but stay out of ours. Listen, America is not a perfect country. Capitalism is not a perfect system. I will be one of the first people to say that. I am a person without a political tribe. But I would still put America over the interests of Israel. Your conservative politicians and your Republican politicians don't, and that's why there is currently anti-Semitism hearings going on in Congress right now. Anti-Semitism on college campuses is a made-up problem that doesn't actually exist. And while that's all happening, communists are literally teaching the next generation of teachers while openly declaring that they want to overthrow the government. And Republicans do nothing about it, say nothing about it, ignore it entirely, and just hope that it will go away and that people will forget. Well, we don't forget. We don't forget. And these people need to be shamed. These people need to be reminded. And I promise you, again, as soon as one of the people that I record at one of these events actually goes and does something violent, I'm going to remind people that every single Republican politician and influencer knew about it. Every single person I could possibly tell about it knew about it. They all ignored it. They all did nothing. And then they complained about being given the video in the first place. And they complained, oh, how dare you expect me to do something, you little thing? How dare you use capital letters in a tweet about overthrowing the government? How dare you? That's really what they're concerned about. That is what Harmeet Dhillon is concerned about. Capitalized letters, not communists trying to overthrow the government. This is the problem. So, listen, I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. It's always been like this. The entire time I've been on the right, it's been like this. People might say, oh, Karlyn, don't burn your bridges. Harmeet Dhillon has never done anything for me, guys. There is no bridge. Harmeet Dhillon has never done anything for me. Like, I'll play nicely with someone as long as if I think that there's a chance that they might actually be a good and decent person. And for a long time, I did actually think that Harmeet was a good and decent person. I did actually think that. I no longer think that. I now think that Harmeet is a shill that deserves to be shamed, along with every other conservative Republican shill, and I will do that unmercilessly. Because that's what these people fucking deserve. Communists plotting to overthrow the government right in front of them, and they focus on capitalized letters and call me unhinged for complaining about it. All right. The gaslighting is not going to work on me, Republicans. And see, this is the thing too. These Republican politicians and these influencers, they try to gaslight you into believing that you shouldn't care about the things that you care about. They will well, are you sure you want to do that? And I don't know, that just seems a little unhinged. And oh my God, you're acting insane. They do this shit all the time. No, it is not insane to demand that Republican politicians and influencers do something about a revolutionary communist teaching at Texas State University, 2 education majors right now, openly plotting to overthrow the government. It is not insane and it is not unhinged to demand you assholes actually do something. It is not insane and it is not unhinged to demand that you guys do your job. I did my job. I got you the footage. Clear, unequivocal, perfect recording. And you refuse to do something because I put capital letters in the tweet? Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not surprised. I'm just disappointed. It's been like this for years. It's always been like this. And I just have had it. And that's why I'm trying to build everything that I'm building. That's why I'm trying to build the Center for Left-Wing Studies, because I want there to be enough evidence out there. I want there to be enough primary source evidence organized in a simple way that conservative bullshit con artists can no longer deny what's going on. And I want that evidence to go directly to the people, and I want the people to understand what it means. I'm doing journalism covering the left because I work for you guys. I don't work for Republican influencers and politicians and conservative think tanks and any of that. I work for you guys because you guys actually do want to know what's going on, and you just want the evidence and you want to be able to judge for yourself. So I'm going to keep doing exactly what I'm doing. And I'm going to keep exposing every single time one of these, because for my money, people, Karlyn, why do you complain about the Republicans? Why don't you just focus on the communists? Here's the thing. Here's really the point of all this. The Republicans will always and forever stand in our way of actually defeating the communists and socialists. They're actively standing in our way. We have to go through the Republicans in order to actually get to the communists and the socialists. Because they constantly lie to their audience. They constantly gatekeep information from their audience. They constantly twist things so they mean things they don't mean. The right is completely misinformed because of their influencers. It's not the fault of normal people. It's the fault of the influencers who lie to them about what's going on and don't give them the real information. We have to get the real information in front of real people. We cannot rely on these conservative con artists to help us. They're never going to. And in fact, not only are they not going to help us, they're going to actively stand in our way, guys. They are running cover for the left. The Republicans are running cover for the left. They are the problem. The left is it's like a video game. The left is the final boss. It's like the big dinosaur or whatever, the big dragon. But the right is the boss that you have to keep defeating over and over and over again, every single level until you get to the final boss. The right is literally years behind me. And by the way, like, so last night, this is just an aside, but people need to know about this. I'm not going to be able to release this footage for a while, and there's reasons for that. You just have to trust me. Last night, I went to a socialist organizing call. You can watch the spy stream on the Substack if you want to. I can't release the footage publicly, but the spy stream is still there. Last night, we went to a webinar with a group of socialists who are actively talking about basically getting socialist jobs in organizations that don't have unions so that they can create unions in those workplaces and organize for leftist politics in their workplaces. And these people have a whole network. This is actually insane. They've been doing this for a while. These people have an entire network all over the country where their entire deal is getting people jobs in organizations that they're targeting that don't have unions so that those people can go into those organizations and make friends with everyone, and they'll teach them how to organize to do this so that they can form unions in their workplace. And the big lead up to this is the left wants to do a general strike in 2028. What does that mean? A general strike means they want workers all over the country across all industries to strike at the same time. They're actively working for this. They're building the foundation for this right now. And part of what they're doing is they're creating a massive network of socialists nationwide that are having these meetings talking about getting their socialist friends jobs in organizations so they can create political power through the unions in those organizations so that they have the foundation to do this mass general strike in 2028. I was telling my husband about this last night and he said, "Oh, that's the revolution then." I said, "Yeah, maybe." He said, "Karlyn, that's what they did in Russia." I'm like, I fucking know. My husband, for people who don't know, my husband is Ukrainian. He grew up in the USSR. So I told my husband this last night. I'm like, "Victor, I'm on this crazy webinar where they're talking about creating this massive network and getting people jobs in organizations just so they can create political power in the unions." This is called salting, by the way, if you want to look it up. It's an actual thing they write about. I had just never heard of it before, but it makes complete sense. So I was telling my husband about this. He says, "Oh, Karlyn, that's what Russia did when they right before the revolution." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Oh, great." And the left has been doing this for years, and the right has been sitting on their asses complaining about capitalization in tweets and form and decorum and anti-Semitism. We don't hate Republicans enough. We don't hate them enough. This country is going to be completely fucked because of Republicans. The communists and socialists will eventually get their overthrow of the government, and they will get their little revolution because of Republicans. Yeah, so overthrow is basically approaching. Yeah. I've been telling you guys, I think 10 to 15 years, and we do actually have a Marxist overthrow of the country. I really do believe that, and I believed it for a long time. The Civil War is not Democrats versus Republicans. The Civil War is radical revolutionary socialists versus the government. That's the Civil War. MJ says they're underestimating the communist scope of influence within the U.S. That's exactly right, because they don't listen to the... And this is why we need to build out the Center for Left-Wing Studies, because the Center for Left-Wing Studies is a project specifically to map the modern left so that we can go, "Oh, you think this is just a couple of people? Here." There are millions of these people in the country, guys. I firmly believe this. There are millions of these people. And like, people ask me all the time, "Well, Karlyn, how many people are we talking about? We're talking about 10,000? No. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, no, no. So I'm doing this Mapping the Modern Left project for the Center for Left-Wing Studies. It's leftwingstudies.com. There's not a lot online yet because I'm working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but there's not a lot online yet, but there will be. And so basically what we're trying to do is map out the entire ecosystem of the activist left. I've told this story a million times, but in case people are new. The problem with mapping out the ecosystem of the far left, the actual activist ecosystem, is that once you find one organization, it creates a rabbit hole where you have to look into 20 more organizations. And each of those organizations creates another rabbit hole where you have to look into 20 more organizations. And it's just like the amount of organizations the left has will blow your fucking mind. The amount of mutual aid organizations, the amount of collectives, the amount of radical revolutionary bookstores, the amount of book publishers, the amount of NGOs, the amount of nonprofit organizations, the amount of reproductive justice organizations, the amount of, I mean, just like it goes on and on, departments and universities and colleges, centers that are doing research. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And Republicans haven't even heard of 99% of these organizations. But like, this is just a stream to say, essentially, like, we are on our own. And we have to treat this as being on our own. There are no influencers supporting my work, guys. Zero. There are people who support my work. Now, I don't want to make it seem like there's no one who supports my work. Of course, there are people who support my work. There are people who behind the scenes support my work. There are places that, love my clips and stuff like that. It's not as though I'm not trying to give people the impression that no one supports my work, because that's not true. But when it comes to like the public facing people, the politicians, the influencers, they don't give a fuck. They don't care. So we have to, and by the way, I'm not the only person they do that to. They do that to everyone that's not in their little club. They do that to everyone who they can't control. They do that to everyone who doesn't follow the narrative. Blah-de, 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 blah. But what that means is that we do have to be scrappy, and we do have to be strategic about what we're doing. And we just need to go and find more people like us that actually care about the problem. And if we are able to expand the audience and bring more people in, and I'm not saying expand it to just any old riffraff, there's a delicate balancing act to have, right? Because I am very serious about curating my community and about having it be a place where serious people can do serious research into the left. I'm very serious about that. At the same time, we do want to bring more people in. And so, because the reason we want to bring more people in is because it's only through people and public shame that we can get politicians to actually pay attention to things. That is the state of affairs. If we do not publicly shame these politicians into doing something, they are never going to do anything. And so, what do we need to shame the politicians into doing something? We need people. Specifically, we need people on Twitter who are in their replies nagging them to do something, because they read all that stuff, because Twitter is all they care about. So I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing. And I know they're listening, and I know they're paying attention, and I know they're reading their replies, and I know they're reading their mentions, and I know they're reading all these things. And they can stew about it all they want. But I'm just going to keep putting out clip after clip after clip after clip. I'm going to keep doing the work I'm doing to build out the map of the modern activist left, to actually show people here's what's going on. And oh God, are you serious? Anthony said in the chat, Anthony, you must be new here, bro. I told my sister, a businesswoman, about you. She asked a good question. Who's funding them? My eyes could not roll back further in my head. No, Anthony, that's not a good question. No, Anthony, that's not even an original question. No, Anthony, that's all conservatives say when they want to deflect from something. Let me tell you what conservatives do when they want to completely deflect from a problem. They go, who's funding them? And then they make up some bullshit answer that isn't even grounded in reality. And they say, look, we know who's funding them. Problem solved. And then they never actually do anything about it. Let me tell you who's funding them. Mutual fucking aid and the universities. This college professor teaches at Texas State University. Do you know who's funding him? Republicans. Texas allegedly is a red state. Texas State University is a taxpayer-funded school in a red state. Do you know who's funding the Texas State University professor who is openly calling to overthrow the government? Republicans. That's who. Republicans. If the Republicans in Texas don't even have control over Texas State University, that is their failure. These people are not funded by Soros. They're not funded by USAID. They're not funded by the CCP. They're not funded by any of the boogeymen that you guys like to talk about. They are self-funded via mutual aid, via publishing, via events, via donations, via dues. And I've covered this repeatedly. So no, your sister, who is a businesswoman, is not going to get the answer she wants, because there is no possible way to remove the funding. And even if there was a way to remove the funding, you guys won't do it because you're lazy AF. Republicans made this big, maybe I do have more to say. Republicans made this big deal a couple months ago about the Party for Socialism and Liberation, which is something that I've been tracking for 2 years. They just heard of it because they don't fucking listen to me. The Party for Socialism and Liberation is legitimately funded by someone connected to the CCP. That's real. The Party for Socialism and Liberation, by the way, no one else on the left likes them. At this Revolutionary Socialism conference, I have multiple clips of them shitting on the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They call them the paid protesters. They don't want to work for them. Antifa has openly shit on the Party for Socialism and Liberation. They don't want to work with them either. So the Party for Socialism and Liberation is on an island by itself on the left. It's not even indicative of the full scope of the left, although the Republicans think it is, because it's the only organization that they actually know about. And they just discovered it a couple months ago. So there was a big hullabaloo on Twitter. We know the Party for Socialism and Liberation is funded by the CCP. We know where the funding is. 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 Anna Paulina Luna's tweeting about knowing where the funding is. Ted Cruz is tweeting about knowing where the funding is because that was something he cared about, because clout. He doesn't care about the Texas State University faculty member calling to overthrow the government, but he'll care about things that get him more clout and media attention, doesn't he? Did anything ever happen to that funding? Does anyone want to take a guess? Did anything ever happen to that funding? No. Spoiler alert, no. Nothing happened. The Party for Socialism and Liberation just kept organizing, just kept getting more popular, more effective today than ever. They're currently raising money to redo the People's Forum in New York City. So Republicans made this whole big social media shit show. We know where the funding is. They wrote an article about it in the New York Post. We know where the funding is. We know where the funding is. And then they never did anything about it. And every time someone brings them up, we know who funds them, we know who funds them, we know who funds them, we know who funds them. That's all they talk about. And then they never do anything about it. Nothing has changed. Nothing has happened. Knocked something off my desk, I was so mad. Nothing has changed. Nothing has happened. And it won't. Because Republicans are do-nothing grifters who only care about talking about things that are going to get them clout on Twitter, and that's it. So asking where the funding comes from is actually the worst possible question you can be asking, because there's nothing you can do about it, and it doesn't even matter, and Republicans don't care, and the only thing that Republicans use this for is to brag about they know where the funding is. Well, nothing ever happens, and the funding just keeps on coming. Nope, there's going to be no. Anthony, Anthony doesn't know what he's talking about. Anthony says, Antifa is a terrorist organization and Trump is going to RICO them. Trump ain't RICOing shit. Trump is not RICOing shit. I was going to do a video on this, and then there were just other things that came up. Trump made this big Truth Social post last week. We're going to go after the people who are doing the riots with a RICO investigation. No, you're not. Do you want to know why? It's not an official organization. Antifa and the Party for Socialism and Liberation are not the same thing. Antifa is not an official organization. There are no official Antifa organizations to go after with RICO charges. Even if you could, you don't know where their funding comes from, because Antifa is not funded by the CCP. Antifa is funded by mutual aid. Antifa shits on the Party for Socialism and Liberation and calls them the paid protesters because they're funded by the CCP. The Revolutionary Communist Conference that we went undercover at this past weekend was openly denouncing China and Maoism. You guys think you know what you're talking about? You have no idea. You have no idea. And now Anthony, I promise you, is going to get upset with me in the chat for telling him he doesn't know what he's talking about and telling him the answers to all his questions, which his Republican influencers should know the answers to, but they don't. Antifa is an idea, not an organization. That's actually true. It's not an organization, guys. If you find Antifa hubs in cities, they're not called Antifa. I'll give you an example. I ran into Antifa in Boston a couple months ago at the June Pride Parade. The reason I knew they were Antifa is they had all the Antifa propaganda that I've been seeing online. I knew exactly who they were. They had an anti-fascist flag. That doesn't mean they're an official organization, though. Do you know what the name of the organization was? MBTA Distro. It was a propaganda distribution organization. Now, are they Antifa? Yeah, they are. Yeah, 100%. But it's not an official organization. And most of the groups that operate under that banner do not call themselves Antifa. So what is Trump going to bring RICO charges against? He's going to bring RICO charges against people handing out flyers on the street that are funded by mutual aid, which means voluntary donations. Is that what he's going to do? He's going to bring RICO charges against that? Yeah, sure. Sure. Okay. See, this is the problem. Republicans don't know what they're talking about, and even what's more than that, they don't care to learn. Other Jenny says, I love how conservatives think they can root out socialists by just searching for keywords. Yeah, exactly. So, anyway. No one is coming to save you. Trump isn't going to do anything. Harmeet Dhillon isn't going to do anything. The Manhattan Institute is a Zionist shill outlet who you shouldn't trust. DEI universities doesn't actually really fucking matter. What else do I have? No Republicans in Texas are doing anything about this Texas State University faculty member. Reagan says the far left has outmaneuvered everyone else. Yeah, that's true. The right is way behind and they don't know what's coming. The Republican donors do not realize their money is actually funding Marxist, socialists, and communists. Well, maybe they should do their own research. Maybe they should look into things before they give money to it. Let me show you. I have this on my screen that I can... Nah, I can't show it to you that easily. I would have to dox the phone numbers of people that I talk to show you guys that, so I'm not going to do that. I was about to show you the text messages that I get from Republicans all the time. And they're roughly the equivalent of, do you think gender ideology is bad? Press A to donate $35 to the Republican Party. That's how the Republicans are raising money. So stop pressing fucking A. Stop giving the Republicans money. They aren't doing anything with it. That's really all I have to say. Fun times, fun times, fun times. But I got some work to do. As a reminder, I am going to be going on a little adventure later this week. I can't tell you where I'm going. I can't tell you what I'm doing, but I promise it's going to be good and you guys are going to hear about it next week. And so I will be gone Thursday through Sunday. I may be doing a spy stream on Sunday later in the day if I get home in time. But there likely will not be a stream on Thursday, Friday. Well, there might be streams. Like, here's the problem. I don't know exactly where I would stream from. If there's a place to stream from, I will stream. If there is not a place to stream from, I will not stream. I'm not exactly sure yet. So we'll have to see how it works out. But I'm gonna go do some work because God knows no one else is gonna do this. And thank you guys for listening to me yell and complain. I appreciate it. And you don't hate Republicans enough. That's it. Have a good one. Bye.